This is the last photo I took with my dad before he unexpectedly passed away when I was 11 years old. I shot it on my first camera, the Nintendo DSi he gave me for Christmas, and I had no idea that that would be the last Christmas we'd spend together, and that this weird little camera would change my life. When I was a kid, I carried my DS with me everywhere and was obsessed with taking photos on my mom's point and shoot whenever I could, but it wasn't until getting that DSi for Christmas 2009 that I finally had a camera of my own, and I started shooting photos on the DSi all the time. Now, as an adult, I've reconnected with the magic of taking photos on a DS, and I want to share that magic with you. I've taken it all across the country, photographing some crazy situations, and even some people you might recognize. But no matter where I bring the DS, one thing always stays the same. It brings people together. If you grew up in the 2000s, you probably had some kind of DS. We're talking about the follow-up to the greatest selling handheld of all time, the DS Lite. And how does Nintendo improve on two screens of perfection? Well, they didn't just add cameras. They added downloadable games, Flipnote Studio, a sound recorder, and so much more. It wasn't just about playing games, it was about creative play. It gave kids a chance to explore their imagination with the basic tools to try stop motion animation, sound mixing, and photography. And some of those kids even grew up to become professional photographers. And now I might be a little biased here because I am one of them. I think that's pretty cool. Hey, if you don't know me, I'm Jonah Holland, a freelance photographer passionate about using tech with intention to connect with others. And today we are exploring, why did Nintendo put a camera in a DS, and what's it like shooting with it in modern day? With a 0.3 megapixel sensor, the DSi was not exactly a pixel powerhouse, even in 2009. See, for context, the average consumer camera at the time was around 10 megapixels, and that same year, Apple released the iPhone 3GS, which packed in a 3 megapixel sensor into a tiny form factor similar to the DSi. Now, it's interesting because Nintendo wasn't trying to compete with camera phones at the time. They even embraced it being low resolution in their official announcement. It's intentionally bad, but that's part of the charm. This isn't Nintendo's first foray into photography though, as they introduced the world to fun-tography back in 1998 with the release of the Game Boy Camera.
You're on Game Boy Camera.
Yes, with Game Boy Camera, you can turn photography into fun-tography.
Smile. You're on Game Boy Camera.
That started the legacy of mixing gaming handhelds with low-quality cameras. When you're taking photos with the DSi, there are no manual settings, no exposure adjustments, no focus points, nothing. It is just compose, point, and click. A seasoned photographer might scoff at that, but for a kid discovering photography for the first time, they aren't gonna know what they're missing. That's the power of creative ignorance. You see, the more you learn about an artistic medium, the more you learn the limitations, and that can shape the way you create. But when you're first starting out, there are no limitations because you haven't found them yet. Only creativity fueled by discovery. There's almost a sense of childlike wonder when playing with new creative tools, and the DSi camera is designed like a toy to spark creative play. When you first open the camera app, you're greeted with 11 lenses to choose from, all with the goal to put a smile on your face. From distortion and mirror effects to stickers and frames, there's enough to keep that creative play going for hours. A lot of these photo gimmicks even feel like an early version of Snapchat filters, years before Snap even existed. If the in-camera photo editing isn't enough for you, it's easy to load your photos onto a computer because the DSi actually uses a full-size SD card, which is a convenience that you might not have expected just looking at the DS. Now, there are some quirks of shooting photos on the DSi. One being that the lens is on the top of the DS, so when you're composing a photo, you're able to kind of tilt and pivot the screen as you're composing. But what's fun about it is you can compose with that bottom screen and almost use it like a vintage style waist level viewfinder. In my opinion, the DSi has a beautiful, modern design that has held up so well over the years. But one thing we have to mention that the DS has a legendary library of classic games like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, New Super Mario Bros., and of course my childhood favorite, Kirby Squeak Squad. No matter where I bring the DSi, it's sure to get a laugh or start a conversation with a stranger, whether they're nostalgic for Nintendo or not. Now, it's funny just the reactions you get when you show up somewhere and pull out a DSi to start taking photos. I mean, if I had $1 for every time someone's yelled at me, "Bro, is that a DS?" I would be able to afford a spare pack of stylists. Recently, I had the opportunity to go to Imaging USA, the biggest photography convention in the world. And walking the show floor, you're gonna see the cutting edge of lighting technology and photo gear. Really, it's just a gearhead's dream. But this year, I really wanted to embrace fun-tography and shoot all of the lighting demos I could with the DS.
So you see, with a camera like this, it's a very delicate technical process. Controlling the light and the image on this is a little tough because there's literally only one button. You point and you shoot. It's nice because the dynamic range on a camera like this is just cooked, just always. There literally is no dynamic range at all because you have something a little brighter than what's a little bit darker. It's just gone, completely crunched.
I love that over the past few years, I've become known as the DS photography guy, because I really have brought this thing with me everywhere. And I like to think that I'm the first person in the world to use a DS to photograph Ludacris, Young Gravy, and even my favorite musician, Briston Maroney. While the photos are objectively terrible, I think the DSi really captures the charm of low-quality 2000s digicams, but if you know the basics of exposure and composition, you actually can push the DSi camera quite a bit farther than you might think. Throughout this experiment, I was shocked by how much I just love some of the photos that I've taken with the DSi. Like some that I would even consider posting on Instagram or putting on my portfolio, just because they're so fun. Now, of course, they're gonna look awful next to a, high resolution photo taken on my Sony a7 IV, but like, that's not the point. It's about the fun, it's about the feeling, it's about taking a photo with a DS. Now, I can talk endlessly about how much I love the DSi, just for so many different reasons. The DSi is the camera that made photography accessible for me. You see, growing up, it was really rare that we could afford the latest tech, so Christmas 2009 really felt extra magical opening that DSi under the Christmas tree. As I said earlier, that was the last Christmas I got to spend with my dad. Losing my dad when I was a kid was the hardest thing I have ever gone through, but undoubtedly it shaped who I am today. While I only had the privilege of knowing him for 11 years, I knew I wanted to try and carry on his legacy however I could. See, my dad was the kind of man who could just walk into a room full of total strangers and instantly find a way to make them smile and connect with them. He always knew the right cheesy dad joke to say to cheer me up on a bad day, and he supported my love for photography very early on. See, a couple years after he passed, my mom suffered from a major stroke, and the doctors told my siblings and I that she would probably never be able to walk or talk again. But thankfully, my mom is way too stubborn for that, and she recovered miraculously over the years. Mom, I'm so proud of you. While my mom was recovering, I took over our family's soap business and dairy goat farm, all while trying to finish high school. At that time, learning photography felt like an escape for me and made me feel like I had purpose. It gave me the opportunity to connect with other people, meet some of my closest friends, and gave me the blessing to provide for my mom in some really scary, uncertain financial times. I mean, I started shooting weddings when I was 16, and now I'm 26 and blessed to be able to say that photography is not only my passion, but my full-time career. So making this a silly little video on the DSi has meant so much more to me than I realized. I've been trying to make this video since 2019. And by far the biggest roadblock through this 6-year, almost 7-year journey of trying to make this video, the biggest roadblock, it's been myself. I've put so much pressure on just this one video. I'm just so proud to finally cross the finish line and be able to share this video with you and announce that this is the first episode of my first series here on YouTube. Weird little cameras. So please tell me what weird little camera you want me to highlight next, and subscribe to the channel because we are just getting started. Until next time, thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to go make someone smile today. Catch you later.